Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Hello.
That's Vanessa over there.
Hello.
That must make me Kelly. Do you guys remember, I don't know if it was last episode or the episode before where I was saying that I was going to be interviewed?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I did that interview yesterday for CZ Media.
Oh,
Carlos Zamora. And it was an absolute delight. And Eric, you know me a little better than Vanessa. So I talk myself out of doing fun things all the time. And I was just about to talk myself out of this because he sent me a really nice text and said, "We still on? Is everything groovy?" And I had a chance to back out, and I was thinking about it because I don't like doing fun things.
Sure. I mean, I can't, I don't know you well enough that doesn't really make sense for the person I know. But I can see deep down inside that little insecurity.
Yeah.
That little insecurity
I would
bubble.
much rather stay at home than do anything.
Yeah. There are the 2 or 3 things a year.
Yes.
Like the Lovecraft Festival. The
Crypticon.
Crypticon.
Sure.
Sometimes.
Right. If we didn't record this here at my place, then I'd never show up.
That's interesting. And that's why we're here? I always wondered. I was like, why? I mean, like, we should take turns or something. So it's not always invading your space, but I guess.
No, this is the only way you get me.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. All right. Then I'm in.
So I said, no, I'll be there. And he seemed like a really nice guy. And I get down there, and let me tell you guys, a true bromance has blossomed.
Oh, nice.
Carlos and I really hit it off. He opened a bottle of wine. We talked for 2 hours. He opened a second bottle of wine.
Oh, my.
When he opened the third bottle of wine, I said, "Carlos, I got to go. I'm having such a great time, but I really have to drive. And this is not conducive to my health." But we were simpatico.
So when do I get my invitation?
Oh, I don't know. And I don't know. To the
wedding.
Wow.
Which one of you is going to
how dare you? He's
hold the
married.
Flowers? Oh, I'm sorry. Well,
yes.
You know what? It's a very open
He is
society.
a handsome man. I will say that. And his space, he was saying, I've got a little studio in Capitol Hill and everything. Oh. And I get down there and it's all exposed brick and wood beams with a view over the sound of downtown Seattle.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was amazing. It's full of aquariums and all sorts of cool shit. All of his signed memorabilia. Eric, if you saw this guy, you'd recognize him because he's a prominent Crypticon attendee. And as soon as I actually saw him, I was like, "Oh, I know who you are, at least, by sight."
Sure.
And I can't imagine that anything we talked about is going to be interesting to anybody else. It just turned into a rambling discussion of shit.
Sure.
The topic was going to be horror films that have been shot in Seattle.
Oh, okay.
The only thing we didn't talk about was horror films that are shot in Seattle.
Considering one just came out. That's a bummer.
Yeah. So speaking of which, so anyway, CZ Media, I'll be on that at some point. I'll post the link when it comes out. If it comes out, I can't believe he'd find anything in there. He might have to invite me back so we can do it all over again.
15-minute podcast comes out.
However, in defense of the movie Malignant.
Okay.
Which I finally saw. You guys shit all over last week.
I don't remember that being the case.
No.
Actually, I think you're misremembering, but okay.
It felt like you did, and that's probably why I had such a good time with it, because I went into it going, I gotta see this shit show. Now, I will not say that it is a good movie.
See? That's what we said.
But I was highly entertained.
Yes.
The shots of them, the going up to the asylum and parking right at the edge of a cliff.
It's fine.
It seems
ample parking.
It seems a little dangerous, but maybe I'm a more cautious driver than her.
That's
I think you could say that everyone is a more cautious driver than her.
I thought that a couple of the shots of downtown Seattle were nice and stuff like that. And then we're getting into spoiler territory. I feel like if you wanted to see Malignant, you've seen it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, this might make you want to see it. The third act reveal.
Yeah.
That should have happened mid-act 2.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the problem with the movie, besides the fact that it's full of bad acting, bad dialogue, and stupid decisions, is that it hid too well what was going to happen. I mean, I was so blown away by that twist.
Oh, yeah?
I was like, wait a second. I thought we were going to find out she was split personality, all of that bullshit and everything.
Right.
And then when we see this thing on the back, I was like, what the fuck? I need another drink. This movie has just become amazing.
Yes, the last third is fucking
ends.
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the
like the
backward fighting and all of that shit suddenly looked really cool to me. I was having such a good time, and I felt like, you know what the problem is? This needed to be telegraphed a little earlier so that I had some, instead of going through it, I could be like, oh, when is this going to happen? I can tell something's going to happen.
I mean, I picked up on it, but I think I'm programmed as a female to know how females walk. So every time I saw the thing moving around before they revealed it, I was like, oh, it's just her walking backwards.
Oh, wild.
I didn't put that together. I mean, I put it together that it had to be her.
Yeah.
I just didn't put the backwards stuff together.
Yeah, no, I was like, oh, she's walking backwards. And then in the beginning, they said there's a thing they have to cut out. And I didn't expect it to like pop out the back of her fucking head.
Loved it.
Jesus, that was incredible. But yes.
I'll say this movie that you didn't care much for, and Eric, you didn't care much for,
you gotta
is
stop
going to
saying that.
be something that people are watching 10 years from now still and talking about. This is going to be a Halloween staple, I think.
Yeah.
And it's only because it's crazy.
Right. Not because it's a fantastically well-made movie, but it's a fantastically well-made mess of a movie.
Well, maybe. I mean, I then went online and there is a fan base for this movie. There's people who fucking love it. Not ironically in any way. They're just like, holy shit, I loved this movie. So that is not me.
Yeah.
But I would definitely go back and watch that third act again.
Well, this is exactly where I'm at, because I think it is incredibly interesting and fascinating and fucking crazy. And I think it's purposeful. I just didn't know what the purpose was. Like, I was like, what are you, you're doing something and I don't know what it is. And it's amazing and you're doing it great, but I don't know what it is you're doing. And in the meantime, we have to sit through really bad dialogue.
Yeah. And keep in mind, we're also getting, I mean, it's the natural progression of a guy who's made The Conjuring and also Fast and Furious movies.
Oh yeah. I forgot he did Fast and Furious movies.
So it really feels like a mix of those movies.
Does it? It does. It feels like a Lifetime movie. I'm not going to let that go. It feels like a Lifetime original movie.
I had an interesting conversation with our buddy Tony, Mr. Anthony K.
Yes. What did Tony
Who is that? I don't know who that is.
Who gleefully verified something I was saying, that he thought calling it Giallo inspired was really shallow. Yeah. And other than some light choices and a few little things, it wasn't remotely Giallo.
Yeah.
And he totally agreed with your assessment of it being, I was like, who was it that said it's like that Lifetime movie with Kristen Wiig and he's like, Ferrell. Yeah, it's that over the top insanity that you get from those overly dramatic kind of movies put in a horror film. Yeah. And it's just like The Babadook. I fucking hated The Babadook the first time I watched it. Absolutely hated it.
Like it.
And watched it again with a different mindset and enjoyed the hell out of it. And I now think it's great.
Yeah.
And I have no problem changing my first impression of a film. And I can guarantee you, with Leonard Cohen and some of those guys in my head, I watch it again, I'm going to like it. Yeah. Because I'm not expecting a James Wan $40 million production.
It's such a love letter to fucking Basket Case. And it's
very much,
Yeah. And like, if you look at it through that lens, once you realize it's a love letter to Basket Case, then I think it will skew things. So I'm excited to check it out again.
I had the same problem with Drag Me to Hell, where all the reviews saying it's Sam Raimi going back to his horror roots. Now, for those of you that maybe watched Evil Dead 10 or 15 years on and viewed it as a comedy already because of Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness,
Right.
when Evil Dead first came out, it was fucking horror.
Yeah.
It was flat out scary.
Yeah.
And it wasn't ironic. It wasn't tongue in cheek. It was scary.
It's like his weird supermarket horror film. It feels very similar.
So when I saw Drag Me to Hell, he's coming back to his horror roots. I actually thought, oh, he's going back to his horror roots, not his Evil Dead 2 Army of Darkness horror roots.
Oh.
And it took me about 20 minutes to get into the feel of that movie. And those first 20 minutes, I freaking hated it. I thought it was horrible. And I'm going, okay, I get what they're not doing his horror roots. They're doing his horror comedy roots, which is very close. It's only one movie difference.
Yeah.
And after that, I was fine with it.
Do I need to give that a second try? I hated that movie all the way through.
I definitely hated it.
It was fine.
As soon as she was willing to kill her own cat to stop the curse, I was like, this woman deserves to go to hell.
Yeah.
No, I enjoyed the movie more than I was at that point because I just settled in and watched it for the humor a little bit more. But I've never watched it again.
I guess I just didn't even find it funny. I was just like, oh,
this is gross, very cringy.
Yeah,
but wasn't it PG-13 also?
Was it?
I don't remember.
I think so. I think that was big. My big thing was it can't be too much horror roots.
Interesting.
So, anyway, that was my defense of Malignant. I will go back and watch that third act just because I had such a good time with it.
I'm so glad you checked out the whole thing and you liked it. I'm really, really, really pleased about that. So, yay.
And it's time for Vinegar Syndrome or Severin to put together the disc for it because those are the kind of companies that should put together the disc for this movie.
Yeah, and it's going to get, a massive Blu-ray release and it'll be dumped out there and we'll get Malignant 2 before next October, I'm sure.
Probably, oh yeah.
Well, I checked out something on Netflix, I believe, The Nightbooks.
I've heard of this.
Terrible title. Really terrible title, I think.
But
actually really charming.
Really?
It's YA, isn't it?
It is. It feels YA. It's got Jessica Jones, whatever that actress is, playing
Kristen Ritter, I believe.
Playing the evil witch. And it's got a little boy who has ended up basically confined into a space with her. And he has to write a scary story every night or else she will murder him. And there's another little girl trapped there with him. And they kind of become friends and have to figure out how to escape. It's really well written, actually. Like, you think that it's gonna be shit and the trailer is shit and like it seems like it's gonna be shit and then you watch it and you're like, oh my god, like you guys really thought this through. I'm so proud. It feels very goosebumpsy. It's a little bit darker than it should be for a kid's story, which I really appreciate.
Is it a movie or a series?
It's a movie.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then when he tells her the stories, are they like, does it turn into short films or?
Actually, it turns into, but they're very short. They're very, very short. Little short films that are, I think they're all in black and white, and it's kind of cheesy. Like his storytelling is little kid telling you. He's like a middle schooler telling you his version of a scary story. So it's not really scary. But the actual scary story is like, what the fuck is good? Like there's a real, oh man, who did The Witches? Who is the author of that?
Was that Roald Dahl?
Yeah, it's got a real Roald Dahl feel to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That premise is the premise from Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, isn't it?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I think so.
Isn't that where the witch is going to cook the kid up and he tells her stories to keep her from...
No, absolutely. It is. But add another kid in there and there are definitely twists. Every character is a little more complex than you think they are going to be. This is a small spoiler, but I really liked that touch. The previous children who she had captured are all turned into little miniatures that she has lined up, and they have like a little peek, and they're all in these like horrifying positions, and it's just so good. You're like, oh my god, there they are. There's the children.
Nice.
I need to see this, I guess.
Yeah, it's charming. It's charming.
Keeping with the Netflix theme.
Ooh.
Squid Game.
Oh man, I saw the trailer for that and was like,
watch it.
Really?
Holy shit. It is so, how much have you seen of it?
I think I'm 5 episodes in now.
Man, I think it's episode 6 was the one that just fucking shattered me.
Oh no, I'm really enjoying it.
It is so good. It's kind of kind of, but not really, a Hunger Games Battle Royale sort of thing. It's a different premise, but it's a similar kind of story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's incredibly well done, and amazingly well shot and acted, and everything is top notch. Apparently, it's like 2 years out from South Korea, and I guess it was just an insanely popular show over there when it came out, and seeming to be now it's number one on Netflix now for a little while, and well deserved.
And is it different enough from Alice in Borderland? Because that was the reason why I was holding off on watching it. I was like, I feel like I just did this.
No, it's
very, very different.
Very different.
Okay.
It feels to me. You finished it then?
Yeah.
Okay. It feels to me like they are definitely saying things about social
Media?
ladders and stuff like that in their movies in the last 10 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
And this lines up with that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It almost goes to hammer over the head level when the VIPs show up, but it's still really good. It's still really good because the main characters are so well rounded and well presented that it still works. Most Dangerous Game is probably also a good comparison.
Right.
Okay.
Style.
Huh.
Well, I saw something that our buddy Craig would call a Craig movie.
Craig approved.
And it is Prisoners of the Ghostland, Nicolas Cage's new movie.
Oh,
Okay, yes.
hey. Yeah, that has had lots of reviews about this is the most insane movie I've ever seen and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it is not that.
Okay.
It is weird.
Okay.
And Cage is very cagey in it. It's kind of a mix between, I don't know, there's a little bit of Mad Max in it. And it's very hard to explain what is going on. And it's very hard to explain afterwards what you just watched.
Do you feel like you know what you just watched? Or do you feel like out in the dark about it?
I get what they were doing.
Uh-huh.
It was not, it needed another $10 million on the budget or something. It needed some better effects. And I think that I probably liked it a little less than Craig did. But, ever since Mandy, I've been wanting to see that Nicolas Cage again.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see those visuals with that Nicolas Cage. And I think that he's giving us, over the top acting, but the film surrounding it is not nearly as interesting as Mandy.
I was literally going to ask you on the Mandy scale, if Mandy is our baseline of Nicolas Cage in his current era of craziness, where does it fall? So it falls short.
Yeah, and I don't think we can call that our baseline for him. That's got to be the peak.
It's got to be the top.
Yeah.
I think the drinking in the bathroom scene is like peak Nicolas Cage on screen.
And then he had just done before that Mom and Dad, which I really
Mom
loved.
and Dad. So good.
I feel like, ever since then, even Color Out of Space.
He does a terrific job in Color Out of Space.
He does, and that movie was cool, but it was not Mandy cool, in my opinion.
True.
Just a different color scheme. It was more too purple and pink. Not enough red.
Indescribable color, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry. I will get that right sometime, I swear.
Keep describing it, Vanessa.
Is this a white, is this his white film? Are we going into... Because it looked like there was a lot of like angelic-y feels to it.
He is wearing a suit that has been put on him that has explosives on each arm and explosives on each testicle if he does not finish his
So it's like
mission.
Escape from LA level of...
There's a little bit of that.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to think of. Because he is going in after somebody's daughter and then has to bring her back. But then there's a curse. There's some mysticism going on.
They don't want to get sued. Oh man. Oh, that sounds pretty interesting. I've only seen the first episode of this one thing, but I'm pretty stoked, and I'm gonna go home and watch the rest tonight. Midnight Mass.
Oh yeah.
The Flaniverse
I watched
continues.
the first episode and a half.
Yeah, I'm about that far into it also.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know much about this. It feels far more like a drama than a horror to me, but it could just be that he's taking his time.
Yeah, I do wonder about I feel like it's got to be building up because even initially with the cat's eyes, when they like sit on that island and there's all those little yellow dots, and I was like, I don't see any real cats though. It's like some shit is happening right now. I like the buildup. I like that there's this weird priest who may or may not be a priest. There's a lot of good questions.
I like the casting. I really like the guy who plays the priest, and the lead guy is from Friday Night Lights, which is a show that I just adore.
Yeah.
So I like him. He was kind of the main guy of that outside of the coach. So I like him already. And of course, his wife, unlike another horror director we can think of, she's really good in performing.
Oh man, her character is just so. If she feels so real, she feels like someone's mom who's going through having to deal with your son coming back from prison and loving them, and
I don't know if you guys remember, Flanagan was supposed to do Revival, Stephen King's book Revival, which is fantastic, and it has a priest who has kind of lost his way in it, and that movie got shelved and everything, or didn't get shelved. It didn't even go into production, but it feels to me like he brought a little of that over to this.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what it does.
Yeah.
I also like the fact that it's 7 episodes. It makes me feel like they're saying, oh, okay, we don't have to do 10. Maybe we just tell the story in the length of time it takes to tell it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it when people have been messing with like, okay, how long is my story? How long is it going to take to tell it? Does it need to be in 30-minute chunks, or is it going to be in 15-minute chunks? Or I love that we're playing with time. It's so frustrating, that TV formula, and I'm thrilled to have it be gone.
Yep. No 22, 42 minutes or whatever.
With the stupid cliffhangers for no reason. Just
well, they're there for a reason.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. The 100% there for a reason, but story-wise, no reason.
Well said. Let's see. Movie or... Okay, I did something wild last night.
It's the first time we've ever had you do this. The first time we've ever asked you to talk about something you saw.
That's
what
right.
Did I do?
No, I was going to say, is it a movie I got, or is it something else I did last night? I'm going with what I did last night. Dean and I went to our first live concert since lockdown.
Was it Hootie and the Blowfish?
You are close.
What is close to Hootie and the Blowfish?
Oh, my wife loves Darius Rucker. Loves his singing. And he actually puts on a hell of a show. So I have seen him many, many times. The interesting part is the first time we ever saw him was at the Washington State Fair, as and Hootie was in their downslide, and they're now doing fair shows.
Yep.
And Darius is now a solo artist and has been for several years now. And that's where this was, Washington State Fair.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God, you went to the fair?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Never to take the mask off while there, let me tell you.
Kidding.
But it was a little more crowded than I was expecting. But
who'd you see?
Darius Rucker.
Oh, you did? Oh,
yeah, of course.
For fuck's sake. This has to be a dozen times you guys have seen.
Good Lord, probably.
Yeah.
Hey, I understand. I've seen Ben Gibbard like at least 10 times, so I'm right there with her. I got it.
Who? You've seen who?
The lead singer for Death Cab for Cutie.
Okay.
Yes. But no, she adores Darius Rucker. So the show was great. It was fun because you could tell the band was so into performing live again that they were really giving it all, and they did all these weird little fun things with the music, and it was really cool to see live music again. The opening act was actually really good. Kind of unknown girl that he'd found someplace. She opened up and she was really good and a lot of fun. Just happy kind of popcorn or bubblegum music. But it's a little weird right now. And it took a good 20, 30 minutes to acclimate to the idea of how many people were in the fair.
Yeah.
Because it was the last weekend of the fair too.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And that took a little bit. But
it's outside, right?
Yeah, it's all outside. The venue is outside venue, and it was kind of, even though it was warm, it was breezy, and people were a lot nicer, which was a little weird. than you usually run in concerts.
Huh.
And so that was neat.
Wow.
Well, I really appreciate you bringing your virus-riddled body into my home.
We hope you showered first.
Oh, many times.
Oh, good.
Shower,
Did you brush your teeth?
All right. Well, I'm yawning right directly into the microphone because I'm a professional podcaster. So why don't we take a little break? And when we come back, we're going to talk kaiju film.
The Shogun Warriors. Guy King with rocket boosters. Great Mazinga with rocket launcher.
Look, it's Godzilla!
Is he friend or foe? You can decide.
Wow.
Launch his claw. Imagine his breath is a blast of fire.
Good warning!
The large Shogun Warriors and Godzilla. They're ready to strike when you are. The Shogun Warriors, Great Mazinga, Guy King, and Godzilla, each sold separately. Accessories not for use with smaller Shogun Warriors from Mattel.
We have returned. Vanessa, this was your subgenre pick. Why don't you tell us why you picked kaiju?
Yeah, I just love giant creatures destroying cities so much. So good. And I'd watched Cloverfield a couple months back, I guess now.
I remember.
Yes, as you should, because it's amazing. And I just wanted more. So I was like, you know what? We have not yet done kaiju. What a cool excuse to dig in. And so I finally got an excuse to rewatch Shin Godzilla, which is a 2016 movie. I say rewatch. I also kind of mean watch for the first time. When I went to Japan, I wanted to know what it was like to see a movie in Japan.
Oh.
And so I went and saw Shin Godzilla, but there's no English subtitles.
Sure.
So I was just like, I have no real clue what's happening. And there's a lot of talking and a lot of camera whipping back and forth. And so I was really curious to know what it was actually about and not like just what my guesstimate was. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. So Shin Godzilla. Rotten Tomatoes, 86% for critics and 74% for audience. So pretty high. Kind of a little bit more of a critic's darling. Budget of 15 million, box office of 78 million.
Whoa.
Yeah. Did either of you guys see this movie?
Yeah, I've seen it. I like it. I don't love it, but I like it.
Okay.
I have not.
Okay. All right. The director is Hiroko Hasegawa. He's done 33 projects, including Evangelion, Neon Genesis Evangelion. He did some Cutie Honey, some Sugar Sugar Rune TV series. He also is a voice in The Wind Also Rises, which I thought was very, very weird. But yeah, he does a ton of anime. And it also was co-directed by Shinji Higuchi, who's done 16 projects. Attack on Titan Part 1 and 2 is probably the one that stands out. He actually has a lot of experience as a storyboard artist. The two are actually longtime friends and collaborators collaborators. Both of them worked on Neon Genesis Evangelion together. And they both were selected by Toho to work on this because of their work together. It was written also by Hiroko Anno, the director, and Sean Whitley did the English version. He's done 63 things, mostly English translations, including Ip Man, Cat Planet Cuties, My Bride is a Mermaid, and Southern Fried Bigfoot. So look out for those titles. It is starring a lot of people who I don't really, I mean, it's Japanese film, so I really don't know who these people are, but I want to go ahead and give them shout outs anyway. Hiroko Hasegawa plays Rando Yaguchi, the one sane politician. He's been in 47 things, including Attack on Titan and a lot of TV miniseries. Satami Ishihara as Kyoko Ann Patterson, who plays the American, who's not very American. She's been in 73 projects, including Attack on Titan films and lots of TV miniseries. Ren Asuji as Prime Minister Seiju Akachi. 454 things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Right? He was, most notably to me, he was in Audition as Shimada, who I think is the like sleazy friend. He actually died in 2018, so he's no longer with us, but damn, son. Seriously. And Jun Kunimari as Masao Zaizan, who's been in 201 things. And he was in Kill Bill as Boss Tanaka. He was also in The Wailing, Ichi the Killer, Audition. So there was a lot of kind of like people who they just sort of threw at this who weren't really anybody because they didn't even have IMDb pictures. But then they also had a few like, you know, old school veterans mixed in there. The plot. I mean, it's a really typical kaiju story. A pleasure boat is off the coast of Japan. It's in trouble / maybe attacked, definitely attacked, but no one's really sure. Video footage shows the Coast Guard boarding it, and we're right there with the shaky cam. And then there's a giant earthquake, and shit gets crazy. There's an underwater car tunnel that fills up with a strange red, I don't even want to say liquid, it's like viscera. It almost looks like volcanic liquid, but everyone's running around and they seem to be able to talk, so I guess it's not volcanic liquid. Not entirely sure. And then there's a giant steam cloud that forms on top of the water, and ships are starting to disappear within it. And so the government calls a meeting in the main conference room with the cabinet, and they discuss how to proceed after this quake. The one sane government dude, Yaguchi, tells the government leaders that there are reports of a large sea monster. They basically make fun of him and chastise him for saying anything whatsoever. And then immediately a man comes in and whispers into the ear of the prime minister. And it turns out that it is a giant sea monster. They coin it the giant unidentified life form. And eventually it becomes Gajira. The government calls for 3 potential options. They can either exterminate it, chase it away, or capture it. Half of them agree to exterminate it. The other half worry about how the environmentalists are going to perceive that. And like, you know, how they need to make sure to treat it with kid gloves in case. This is what this movie is. It is nonstop bureaucracy. It is bureaucracy on top of bureaucracy. It's, okay, let's meet in the conference room. Okay, let's have a press conference. We have to get into our special military suits to get in the press conference so we look like we know what we're doing. Okay, the press conference is done. Now we're going to go into a different conference. And like, they will stop a conference when somebody brings up a question to go into a new room with the same people to continue their conference. It is unbelievably, it's dark, black humor, political satire
for sure, yeah.
At its best. Yeah. Have either of you ever seen In the Thick of It? Just a British.
I have not.
Okay. It's a British series where you get the sweary British guy who became Doctor Who, whose name I'm forgetting right now, but old man Doctor Who.
The older guy, yeah, I know who you're talking about. I don't.
Yeah. So just a very like ridiculous, over the top political movie, but with Godzilla. So it's really great because they're like, okay, we have to let the people know that he's attacking and he's moving towards the land. And the one sane guy is like, he might stand up and like walk on the land. And they're like, no, he won't. We talked to our scientists. He would crush underneath his own pressure. And so they're talking to everybody in the conference or in the live broadcast to the Japanese to calm everyone down and say, oh, no. He can't stand. He can't stand. So don't worry about that. And Aid runs over, whispers, seems like he is walking on the land. Everybody evacuate this city. So it's just a lot of that, a lot of really good kind of deadpan moments. And I would say the other really impressive things about this movie, other than it really is just a typical monster movie. It's moving through Japan. It gets to Tokyo. They have to figure out what to do. The international community gets involved because they haven't managed to actually like defeat it yet. And they're like, okay, we're going to nuke it. And everyone's like, you're going to nuke Japan? Excuse me? We've had this conversation before, fellas. And there's just a lot of that kind of stuff going on within it. But the monster itself, I found really, really interesting. It evolves multiple times. So that was one thing I didn't realize when I was watching it the first time. I thought it was multiple monsters because I was like, oh man, is it going to fight the other one? No, it's just evolving. The first one's this kind of big sluggish lizard guy with like dead eyes that just stare off into nothing, which is really creepy. And it feels like it's a puppet, but apparently it's CGI, but it's modeled after a puppet because they couldn't get the puppets to work. So they made all these like kind of puppety things. And then eventually it makes its way to becoming like the crazy, creepy Godzilla that we kind of are more familiar with. And its spines are like made out of like dead creatures. And when it goes to blast and breathe fire, it splits its jaw into 4 parts. So the top is 2 and the bottom is 2, and it expands out and it breathes stuff. It's a cool fucking
How very
creature.
Blade.
I feel like somebody else said that to me while I was watching it. And yeah, it has some really, really interesting effects. One thing I also really liked about it is it grows these like really, really sad little T-Rex arms. Like it has these kind of like gills, and you're like, oh no, it can't stand. And it's trying to stand. It keeps falling over onto buildings. And you're like, oh, I can't do it. You can do it, Godzilla. And then it like pops out these 2 little itty bitty arms. You're like, yay, now you can walk. It has this crazy physicality to it. And then when it does do the atomic blast, it has these cool little like black sheens that come over its eyes to protect it from the radiation, which I thought was very, very clever. Cool. It feels paced. I feel like it's paced and shot almost like an anime. There's a lot of rhythm to it that's extremely quick. It's extremely punchy. It's violent, and then it's mundane. And I feel like you can tell that the director comes from an anime background. Definitely had that sense to it. Just the way in which they handle the government bureaucrats are great. It almost felt like a little bit Wes Anderson-y at times. They would like walk into a room and they'd be like, okay, we have to deal with this crazy monster. And there'd be the biologists in one group, and they'd have a little sign underneath that says, biologists, and they'd be dressed in a certain way. And then go scientists and military. And the military guys are all like fucking cool and have like cigarettes hanging out of their mouths, and it just goes. And then they'd be like the nerds, like guys in sweater vests with bad hair. It's just like really fascinating. It was extremely funny. I liked it a lot. It did have flaws for sure. There was a woman in it that I mentioned earlier who's the American representative to Japan. So America, the president sends in the Japanese foreign relations woman who needs to like sort of represent America and, be there on boots on the ground and make sure they're doing it right and hold their hand through it. And she's definitely 100% American. Her grandma was from Japan, and she's so excited to check out the country that her grandma was from. She is so Japanese and has such a thick accent. It's awful. She cannot for the life of her speak like an American girl. And it's just like, oh, you guys, you couldn't just grab like an American. She doesn't even have to be Japanese. Just something. Ugh. So that was a little bit tough to deal with. the Americans jumping in and having that sort of very typical, okay, now the Americans are showing up and they're taking stuff over. That was very predictable and I didn't love it.
But they were kind of making fun of that fact.
100%. They were. You're right. They definitely were making fun of it. I think I have to rewatch it a few times, honestly, because it's so fast and furious. And when you're reading subtitles, you're like, what just happened? I was reading somebody's title and then they said 4 lines of dialogue. I have no idea what just happened. So that's definitely something that was difficult to keep on top of. And I didn't like that they had to recreate Godzilla. It was like a sort of a re-origin story.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. So this is not in any kind of continuity.
100%.
Okay, I've forgotten that.
Yeah, it's like Godzilla has never happened before. It's the first time a creature has come out of the sea. In fact, they find a piece of paper somewhere where some scientists have been studying the nuclear effects of sea creatures down below and had predicted this, and they had called the monster Gajira. And so they were like, oh, okay, so somebody's named it. Look, here's the name. We've said it now. We can continue with the movie. So that was a little, like, I kind of wished it had been part of the continuity.
Remind me, at the end, don't we see like his tail is starting to look like the other monsters from the Godzilla movies?
I wasn't sure what it was. The tail has a bunch of weird, creepy creatures on it that are like frozen. It's
so
hard.
It felt to me like they were going to like reboot it, and that he was going to be the mother of all the monsters he ends up fighting or something.
Oh, it's possible. The first time I saw it, I was like, is he growing like creepy humans and they're going to be like human monsters? And it was pretty fast. And without having that knowledge of what all the other creatures look like, it was a little bit tough. So a little bit of fun trivia for this film. The tagline is "A God Incarnate, a City Doomed." The inspiration was actually drawn from the Fukushima nuclear disaster when the earthquake and tsunami hit in 2011. Later in the film, there's this sort of large concrete boom pump truck that are used to inject something into Godzilla's mouth. It's really hilarious. It kind of looks like weird dentistry work. I really, really enjoyed the last probably half hour of this movie. It was really phenomenal. But they're throwing stuff in his mouth to neutralize him, and they use those same boom pumps. So visually, it would have been very reminiscent of what they did for that tsunami situation. This is the 31st Godzilla film, if you include the 1998 Godzilla. Don't know whether or not you choose to, but there you go. It's the first Godzilla to win a Japanese Academy Prize for Best Picture.
Oh, nice.
So it did freaking well. Crazy, crazy well. It's the only other Godzilla film aside from the original where Godzilla does not fight another monster. The director told the actors to speak faster than usual so that they would resemble actual politicians and bureaucrats, citing The Social Network as a reference and warning he would cut the take if they spoke too slowly. For Satomi Ishihara, the one who plays the Japanese-American diplomat, the hardest part of her performance was learning English. She found out she was playing an American after being cast and was shocked by the amount of English dialogue she had to speak when she read the script. So, yeah.
That's interesting to me. I mean, why didn't they just...
I cannot figure it out for the life of me. Maybe it was because they liked working with her previously and they just wanted to keep the dream team going what it was. But yeah, very strange. According to sources close to the production, Godzilla's design in this film is mostly based on the design from the original film from 1954, as is intended to appear very, very frightening. They just wanted it to be really, really creepy looking, which I thought was effective, but it also looks kind of dopey. So hard to say. Don't know which side of the line you're going to sit on. I want a stuffed animal of this dude, though.
Oh boy,
the first iteration. He looks so wonky.
Adorable.
He's like a big salamander. The only Japanese live action Godzilla movie in which the monster was realized almost completely through CGI, abandoning traditional suitmation effects, which I thought was such a cool word. However, according to the effects supervisor Atsuki Soto, Godzilla's skin was deliberately made to look like rubber as opposed to realistic animal skin. And his movements were performed via motion capture, adding a live performance element to the animation. Some of Godzilla's interactions with the environment were achieved via pushing a prop through miniatures. And the final shot of the monster is actually a sculpture instead of a digital effect. So the physical effects aren't entirely done away with. So they were really trying to like keep true to that as much as they could. Godzilla was portrayed in motion capture by Mansai Nomaru, a traditional Japanese comic theater actor. To realize Godzilla's slow movements, they gave him a 10 kilo weight, which was strapped to him. And he incorporated the technique of the traditional Japanese dance in his performance. So he's like dancing around with a weight strapped to him to get that perfect Godzilla look. Shin Godzilla was theatrically released in 2016 to critical acclaim. Everyone loved it. It was a huge, huge hit. Highest grossing live action Japanese film of 2016, grossed $78 million worldwide, became the highest grossing Japanese produced Godzilla film in the franchise. It also received 11 total Japan Academy Prize nominations and won 7, including Picture of the Year and Director of the Year. And last but not least, due to the film's enormous success in Japan, Shin Godzilla has become the de facto face of the franchise. Toho replaced their statue of the Heisei Godzilla with that of Shin Godzilla design.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me. One of the things I did not like about this was how drastically they changed the design.
Mm-hmm.
I do admit that he looked really scary in this movie.
Yeah.
I thought that he looked very dopey when he first stumbles out of the water, and the dead eyes that you're talking about looked like googly eyes
They
to
do.
me. I was like, I don't like this.
They kind of remind me of like, I don't know, I want to say insect, or they do kind of seem like reptilian eyes, like a really dumb reptile. But again, like if you imagine that scene as an anime, those eyes are just exactly like how they would show a big creature.
Yeah. I also felt like I was really surprised at the end when it ended. I was like, what? Oh, wait, is that the end of the movie?
It had a real Atomic Train feel to me, where I felt like there was like a light half, and then it became kind of serious.
Yeah.
When like they get to Tokyo and shit gets real, and then like pretty much everyone dies, and they have to have a new cabinet like out of tents, and they're like, okay, well, all of our brothers are fallen. Let's keep going with who we have left.
I mean, I appreciate the satire, and obviously it did very well for them. I'm really surprised to hear that they switched out their statue, because that was 91 or something when that started. So that's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you liked it, though. I'm glad that you got to see it and understand what they were saying this time.
I was so stoked. I have to tell you, I was like, oh, that's who that person is. Oh, that's the prime minister. I knew there was somebody important. Ooh.
Was the Japanese film going experience significantly different than the U.S., or was that?
It was fascinating. The only thing I will say that the big key highlights are nobody gets up until the credits are done. Nobody, not a soul. It's disrespectful to do so. And then at the end, everyone brings all of their trash out with them and like puts it into these like different containers on their way out. Like you do not leave it messy. Completely inappropriate to leave it messy. But yeah, I don't know. It felt different. It felt very different.
Yeah.
Was it? I know that Godzilla's traditionally had really big like events planned around their theatrical releases. Was there cool stuff in the lobby or anything like that?
There was not, but I was kind of seeing it in a haphazard way. I was there for the Tokyo Game Show, so I was sneaking out like in the evenings to get stuff done. So I might have even missed if they had anything special.
Sure.
Yeah.
And this was like, everything in Japan is like layered, so every single floor of every building has different stuff in it. So you have to like take the elevator up to the 15th floor to get to a movie theater. So I was like, I don't know. It was a weird kind of spatial experience.
Right. Oh, cool.
Very cool.
So what did you guys discover?
Shall I go next? Or?
I don't know. We could go like most popular, secondary, weird ass.
Oh, okay. Let's see what you got.
Yeah.
Let's fight over it.
Oh, I think I'm firmly in second place here. But the classic Gamera.
Ooh.
Oh, right.
This one is Gamera 2, Attack of the Legion.
Gamera 2, the real guardian of the universe.
There's a lot of Gamera movies. I did not count the total. I do not know if it's more or less than 31, but I think it's less.
I don't want to nerd out on you here, but it's Attack of Legion.
Attack of Legion, yes.
Oh. I know nothing. Please educate me.
1996. I wrote this damn box set of this fabulous thing was one of the kickstart things for me getting back into collecting physical media. So I watched that out of that wonderful box set that Arrow put out.
Of Gamera films?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize the new ones were in that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And looks fantastic. Holy shit. So, but it's also available on Prime and Tubi. It's all over the place. There's no ratings on Rotten Tomatoes from critics for this film, which I thought was there's like 2 of them. I thought was very bizarre.
It didn't get any kind of theatrical U.S. release, so that might have been why.
Is there a Japanese Rotten Tomatoes?
I probably couldn't read it. I don't know.
Good response.
But the audience is 83.
Okay, yeah.
So,
had you seen Guardian of the Universe?
I have not. I read some of it after a thing. I got the idea of what's going on.
I'm just curious why you picked the second one.
Because it was a lot of people picked it as one of his best, and there's something about the giant monster movies that I'm comfortable in watching them in whatever order I feel like watching them.
Okay, I will just say that the Gamera trilogy follows a story from beginning to end, though.
Yes.
It was set up as a trilogy. So
Yes, I knew that.
You started with episode 2.
Yes, but I started with the one that the director really wanted to make as opposed to the one who was largely forced to make.
You're a psychopath.
Whoa. Shit's getting real here, folks.
Well, that's what he said. He was forced to do a lot. I'll get to it in my notes. Anyways, the director, Shushika Kaneko, who directed Summer Vacation, 1999. My Soul is Slashed. And, of course, the trilogy of movies. Also, Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. Giant Monsters All-Out Attack.
One of the best. I love that movie.
Written by Kazunori Ito, who did Ghost in the Shell, and a massive group of things called the Dot Hack series, which I'm assuming is an anime series, but just tons and tons of them. And wrote Giant Monsters All Out Attack. Let's see. Oh, excuse me. He wrote. Sorry, doubled back. He did not. But he did write a segment of Necronomicon, Book of the Dead.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And per everybody that's in there, they've all got tons of anime credits. All the writer and all the actors.
A rare actual appearance of Lovecraft on Strange Aeons Radio. That's nice.
Yeah.
It happens sometimes.
From a Japanese writer of a 1996 film. It's starring Toshiyuki Nagasami, who's in The Incident, Virus, The End, and several Godzilla movies. Miku Mizuno, who's in the 2 in Tracksuits. And Bayside Shakedown, the finale.
Ah, yes.
Bayside Shakedown.
Yeah, it's like...
Please say there's bikinis in that.
Probably.
Yeah.
Tomotsu Ishibashi, have you seen The Barefoot God? 4 Days of Snow and Blood. And also tons of TV. And finally, Mitsuru Fukuoshi, who's in Goldfish, Samurai Zombie, Sweet Rain, Accuracy of Death, Guinea Pig 4, Devil Women, and tons of TV.
I gotta say, Eric, you have clearly gone to school to learn how to pronounce names because you rocked it this time. So, well done.
Gave it a shot. But this starts off with people speaking English in horrible, ridiculous, stupid Southern accents. It's hilarious.
Oh my God.
And it's weird because anytime English is said, it's subtitled and people are speaking Japanese over the top almost every time.
Whoa.
Like whenever there's news segments, you get like multiple subtitles and multiple languages at the same time. It's like, all right. But hey, kids are in danger. Must be a kaiju movie. They send it's a meteor shower, so let's send out the military to deal with it. Okay, sure. But basically, we'll start with the first part of the film is everybody trying to figure out what's going on. Because, that's what it does. There's really strange freeze frame moments throughout the film, too. For the beginning, at least. There's like 5 or 6 freeze frames in the first 10 or 15 minutes, but they kind of stop after that. The mystery deepens when 10,000 cases of beer are destroyed.
No.
10,000 cases of beer.
Yes, but only the glass is missing. What? But this one starts out with little creatures attacking. So there's some blood and gore in this one.
Whoa.
At least as far as a kaiju movie, feels like a lot. But because the little creatures come out and tear people apart. Not terribly graphically, but there's definitely blood. They were skewing a little bit, trying to age the audience some on this one. They were trying not to make little kid movie precisely. They do have a very interesting look that a movie that comes out 2 years later might have borrowed from was Starship Troopers. They look like those creatures a lot. And
they're about that size, right? They're a little bigger than humans.
They get bigger to that point. When they first appear, they're about human size, but then they get bigger.
Right.
And then, very much like, Paul Verhoeven, see this film? To no one's surprise, they figure out this new creature, they cannot coexist on the Earth, so they have to figure out a way to destroy it. So they send out the Self-Defense Force, which I guess is like a real term, a real group in Japan from the sound of it.
Wow.
The filmmaker does some neat stuff as far as a kaiju film does. There's moments of lockdown camera most of the time. You're on sticks and tripods, but then he switches to handheld for some of the war segments, the war plan segments, to give it more of a intense in the room feel, which works really well. And here we've got the first sighting of Gamera. Because he's apparently found out about this creature too, and of course, giant monster creature, I must come and destroy it.
Well, because in the first movie, you find out that Gamera is the guardian of the universe.
Yes. Actually, you find that out in like the first Gamera movie ever. He sort of establishes as a guardian of humans as opposed to...
so, especially little kids.
Yes. Yeah. Initially, it's definitely little kids. Creepy. The effects are good in this. It's still, what did you call it? What's the...
Suitmation.
So
but
good.
the attacks, the flames, the fireball he shoots out is really well done.
Yeah.
We finally see the creatures. What this creature he's fighting is all the little ones come together to form a giant one. Thus, why they're called Legion. One of the characters in there quotes the line from the Bible about about Legion, and it looks really neat. The suit is incredibly well designed and has all these weird little creatures moving all over it, even though you can tell it is a suit. He kicks the crap out of Gamera, who he bleeds.
Yeah.
Like, it's violent. This thing has these giant spikes and just gouges right into him and stuff. I'm going, Jesus. They really are upping it for the bringing the bigger kids. So, of course, he destroys it in one city, but then it flowers and goes to another city and starts up because, you got to continue trying to figure out what's going on. And there's a moment where some of the humans are trying to get away and they're in a helicopter and he comes to defend them. And that's also a really, really brutal battle. And some a giant version of the Starship Trooper creatures. This one is not made up of all the little ones, but it's another version because there's different critters all throughout this thing. The person he's protecting is from the first film, the lady who communicated with him, who's the one he's able to talk to, who, because of the want to make it less of a children's movie and make it more adult, they cast a high school student instead of the little kids to be his go-between between the humans.
She's got like a telepathic link with him.
Yep. Is he dead? Because he gets his ass kicked pretty bad. The camera did. No, of course he's not. But, back to figuring out what Legion is. Come on, that's what you're going to do. There's a mild subplot of romance in this that doesn't work at all. It could just be absolutely removed because it's only like 3 scenes. It's the third scene where I figured out, they're supposed to be romantically entwined.
Is it between the teenager and Gamera?
So hot.
No.
Flying turtle sex.
Yes.
And it looks like he's destroyed. He's a giant husk from the nuclear explosion. Will he come back? You'll just have to watch.
Gamera looks like he's destroyed?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he turns into this giant statue-looking thing almost, where he's sort of hunched over and all the people are going to look at him to worship him.
Oh.
Do you think he'll get out in final battle?
No.
Okay. Some trivia and notes. The DVD has introductions on some, I don't know how many of them are on, but by Northwest favorite, August Dragoon. You don't know August Dragoon? Aragon? He's been at Crypticon a few times, years and years ago. He's a kaiju specialist. He's got a podcast on kaiju and a variety.
I was probably on that panel with him then. Okay.
But he does introductions to it. Wow, he talks fast. He's introduced, and this person, it's like, whoa, dude. Knows his shit, though, that's for sure. The tagline for this movie, summer 96, Japan falls.
Oh, man.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
It's part of the High Sea trilogy of films from the director. It was kind of a revival for Gamera because he was sort of a joke at that point because he's a flying turtle who shoots fire, and he was not viewed well in Japan. Director loves kaiju, so he wanted to do a kaiju, and he was presented the opportunity to do this series of films if the first one did well enough. And like I said earlier, they upgraded to a high school student so they could appeal to an earlier audience or an older audience and add in some violence and a little bit more depth to story. The first film was loosely based on Godzilla versus King Kong, but this one is fully original. The first one did so well that the studio said, do what you want. They allowed him to redesign the way it flies using some CGI. He wanted to make it sort of like a sea turtle, where a sea turtle on the land looks sort of clumsy and graceless, but in the sea looks amazingly graceful. He wanted to give that to Gamera while he's flying. So he was allowed to redo that. He couldn't do that in the first one. They wouldn't let him touch anything about it. Ironically, it's the same budget. It's both a $5 million budget for first and second. Even though it was incredibly successful, it's like, we don't get any more money, but you got more freedom. So I guess there's that. Their self-defense force in Japan was used for no fee. and they used a lot of real soldiers. And he would go to the commanding officer, say what he wanted done. Commanding officer would go tell all the people what to do, and they'd do it. So he had a huge cast of free soldiers to run around doing stuff. This one was more successful even than the first one, and boosted his popularity to rival Godzilla in Japan for several years, where he was on even footing again. It made it into Kinema, which is cinema spelled with a K, Juno's best Japanese film of the year. They designed it, and they designed the Legion suit in such a way that it would not require wires to operate, which they're worried about to having to, because it had all these little things moving on it. And basically his solution was he fit 2 actors in the suit. So there's actually 2 guys in that one. And one controlled the overall movement, the other one controlled how the little things on it would run. And it was so well preserved and maintained that that suit was brought to like a New York Comic-Con one year and shown off live.
That'd be cool. It's so cool to see.
I may have to go back and watch this. The Arrow release contains the Lake Texarkana hillbilly redub of the film.
What is that?
It's exactly what it sounds like. A whole bunch of, I went and I turned it on and watched a couple scenes, and it's just a bunch of good old sounding country boys dubbing over all of the people in the movie.
Oh my God.
How does this come about?
Yeah, why?
No idea. But they've got the full film. And they also have a really neat 40-minute segment that's just basically raw footage of them operating the suits and in the background.
Ooh.
And that looks so much fun. That would be so much fun to do. The line, just in case you had any interest, is from of Legion is, Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "My name is Legion, for we are many."
Yes.
Damn.
And that's where the name for the creature came from.
I really love this trilogy of films because it, unlike most of the Godzilla movies, they always seem to just kind of ignore whatever had happened. And Tokyo was suddenly just fine again every year.
Yeah.
And this one dealt with like the PTSD you would have if you lived in a city that just got smashed by a giant monster and stuff like that. It was really interesting ideas for these kind of movies.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's incredibly well done. It's done as like you were saying, the social satire was such a strong point of it, or political satire was such a strong point that you could tell they put a lot into that. The people and their relationships and the reality of being was very important in this film. And the storyline of the soldiers, it was done as a serious war movie from his point of view. They weren't just fodder to be put out against a giant monster. They actually were part of the planning process and part of what happened. And there was reactions when the soldiers got destroyed, and like the general yelling, "Pull everybody back. We don't want to lose anybody more." Things like, and it just really, really smart, well-made film.
It sounds like these types of films are just such a good use for people to get commentary, to make commentary on different aspects of Japanese culture and life. And I guess I didn't realize that until right now, but it's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, certainly the first Godzilla was, but as it got more and more popular, it became just ridiculous
Just
monster
nonsense.
stuff.
That was kind of my assumption, but having mine be like a social, political satire and yours, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, once you got the Godzuki or whatever, the little Godzilla creature, we're getting away from the social commentary here.
Sure.
I think in Japan that was Minya.
Much better name.
Yeah. Well, okay. I chose a movie that I remember being in a bar in, I don't know, in North Carolina or something. And I was like, what the fuck are we watching? This looks amazing. And it was called Dragon Wars.
It began as a legend. Something unimaginable. Something unexplainable.
Which thing do we know about?
We can only conclude that it's foreign in nature.
We're talking about deploying armed forces in a major city. I need to know exactly what the hell we're up against.
Something extraordinary.
You said it was big. You didn't say it was something that could swallow a bus.
Will turn our world into a battlefield.
And so I thought to myself, I am going to have to watch this fucking movie. It looks amazing. And here I am, just a scant 13 years later, watching it.
Finally.
So this is from 2007. It had a budget of $32 million, maybe. We'll see. A box office of $75 million worldwide. The Rotten Tomatoes critic score is 29%, but the audience flips the critics off and says, no, no, no. This is only a 19% movie.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Oh, dear.
I have seen this one.
It was written and directed by Hyung-rae Shim, who did Reptile 2001 and The Last Godfather. And it stars, I should mention, this is a South Korean kaiju film.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
It stars Jason Behr, 61 episodes of Roswell. He was in The Grudge, Skinwalkers, and he plays Zor-El in the Supergirl TV show.
Cool.
I don't watch it, so I don't know. Amanda Brooks, who has just done a ton of TV, including The Birch, Nashville, Aquarius, Bones, Longmire. Robert Forster, 189 credits, including Alligator, Jackie Brown, and The Wolf of Snow Hollow. And then I'm just going to list off a couple of these other names because it's a pretty impressive cast. Craig Robinson, who is one of the funniest men in the world, in my opinion. He was in Lucky, Eastbound and Down, and you would know him as the man who looks to the screen and says, it must be some kind of hot tub time machine.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I know exactly who that is.
It also stars Elizabeth Pena from La Bamba and Lone Star. Chris Mulkey, who has 261 credits. You would know him mostly, I think, as Hank on Twin Peaks. And then Billy Gardell, who is another very, very funny guy, has been in everything.
These are strange South Korean sounding actors.
Yeah, that's what I was just
You would
thinking.
know Billy mostly as Mike from Mike and Molly.
Okay.
Yes, this is a South Korean made film with American actors.
Huh.
Now, I'm going to try something different with this because I watched this movie and I was like, the fuck did I just watch? So I went to Wikipedia and looked up the plot.
Yes, sure.
And I could not tell that any of this was happening while I was watching it. So what I've done is I have printed out the Wikipedia plot and I'm going to throw in my asides.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So the story follows the adventures of Ethan Kendrick, charged in his childhood by the enigmatic Jack to protect the Yu Yi Ju, an individual who had been born able to change an Imugi chosen by heaven into a celestial dragon from a corrupt Imugi identified as Buraki, who was prevented from obtaining it in the past by Ethan and Jack's previous incarnations.
Ouch, my brain is already hurting.
To this end, Jack gives Ethan a medallion formerly belonging to Ethan's previous incarnation and reveals that the reincarnated Yi-Ju is Sarah Daniels, whom Ethan will find in Los Angeles. So now all of this happens in the first 4 minutes of the film with this little kid and his dad in a pawn shop that Robert Forster owns. And the dad is trying to sell something that's worth nothing. And the kid is just wandering around and he sees this like this ancient Asian chest and he touches it and it suddenly like pops open and you see a little fairy dust drop off and everything. And Forrester sees this happening behind the dad, and so he tells the dad, "Yeah, I'll take this thing. I'll take it for sure. But I need." He basically sends him on a wild goose chase to get him out of the store, and then he grabs the kid and explains to him everything I just explained to you with a little bit of flashback and everything, and tells the kid, "You're the chosen one, and you have to meet up with this girl, and you'll meet her in Los Angeles." This kid's like 9 years old.
Oh my God.
Right. So I will say this: there has to be some kind of something to be said about cultural appropriation when South Korea is filling a film full of their traditions and history with white actors.
I don't know what to make of it.
I'll tell you what, it's all money. Everyone can just calm the fuck down. People do what they do for money, not to be disrespectful to a culture or anything like that. Everybody just wants as much money as they can make.
I mean, this is why The Rock is in Definitely Not Die Hard.
Right.
Yeah. The terrible, terrible film, but
Skyscraper,
yes, with Neve Campbell.
Okay, back to the Wikipedia.
Okay.
Yeah.
15 years after this revelation.
Sure, because the kid has to be in his freaking 20s.
Right. Buraki invades the city bent on capturing Sarah, whereupon Ethan, now a television news anchor, rescues her, conveys the knowledge of her purpose, and attempts to save her from Buraki, during which they eventually regain the memories of their past lives. So, by the way, Buraki is a giant fucking snake, and he looks awesome. I mean, he's like as long as a skyscraper, and so he's just barreling down through streets and crushing cars and people. And
oh my God.
It's super cool looking. It is all very, very clunky in the film, the dialogue of them telling each other. I almost wonder if the actors are being... I wonder if there was no script that they were able to read all the way through, and that they were just told what to say, like on the day of shooting, and there was just somebody there who was going, "Yeah, well, we need to make this happen here." I mean, that's how it feels.
Wow, like maybe even somebody has an earpiece and it's they're giving you a line.
That would be the best, because it is a South Korean director, so I hope that he's saying something to a translator who's then translating that as well as possible to the actor, and then the actor saying something, and everybody just thinks, okay, good enough.
I'm sure that was the case.
Back to Wikipedia. During the resulting chase, Buraki's Atrox army enters the city and engages the United States Army, the United States Air Force, and the Los Angeles Police Department in battle. Here, the Atrox army is shown to consist of black-armored humanoid night warriors, theropod-like cavalry called shakonas, small-winged western dragons called bulkos, and immense slow-moving reptiles carrying rocket launchers on their back.
Oh my God.
Identified in the dialogue as dawdlers. So, this movie, like, I'm just like, I have no idea what's going on, right? But this starts happening, and I am fucking all in. This is so fucking cool looking, because there's all these Asian-style dragons, floating around in the sky, and then there's these weird fucking lizards. They call them rocket launchers here, but they're like medieval-style rocket launchers.
Oh, jeez.
What?
So, think of the scene in Star Wars Episode 1 where the Gungans are fighting the droids, right? And the Gungans have like all of this primitive technology, but they're shooting plasma balls and shit like that. That's what this looks like, only place all of those figures and weird looking creatures and everything in downtown Los Angeles.
Sure.
So I'm like, okay, I'm all in. I have to talk about this movie. Back to Wikipedia.
Oh my God.
Despite losses, this army overwhelms the human forces while Ethan and Sarah escape the city, but are subsequently captured by the Bulkos and taken to a menacing fortress in the midst of a darkened desert landscape. There, as Buraki emerges from the fortress to consume Sarah, Ethan's medallion unleashes power that destroys the Atrox army. Ethan then attempts to prevent Buraki from consuming Sarah, but he is knocked away, whereupon the good Imugi, of whom the power in Sarah was to be given, emerges from the fortress and attacks Buraki. Now, I went to Wikipedia immediately after watching this, and I was like, oh, is that what happened? Because this is so fucking confusing in the movie.
Sure.
It made no sense to me. But the best part of this is that Sarah, who is the good Imugi, she emerges from the fortress. Well, what I'm not telling you is that she is also now a giant fucking snake. Right?
Oh my God.
She's awesome. It's really cool looking because they're like winding around skyscrapers and shit. I mean, you would love it just for the disaster porn.
Yes, 100%. Is she part human, part snake, or just all snake?
She's all snake,
Okay,
but
that
she's
makes it
got
better.
her thoughts.
Oh,
No,
her
not
thoughts.
hair. I like that you thought.
Yeah,
she
it sort
had
of looked like you were doing her hair.
She
Nice.
put that in the.
Yeah.
She had her hair. Okay, back to Wikipedia.
Okay.
The two Imugi, good and evil, engage each other in a duel that Buraki appears to win after seemingly snapping the good Imugi's neck. After this, Buraki again approaches Sarah, who finally offers herself willingly, but instead gives her power to the injured good Imugi who absorbs it. Sarah faints, and Buraki can do nothing as the good Imugi becomes the celestial dragon, type lung dragon, continuing the duel until it finally destroys Buraki. So now the snake sprouts wings and then switches over to become a traditional Asian dragon.
Okay.
And it is whipping through the air, undulating and all of this shit. It is so fucking great looking that I was just like, you know what? I don't care what's going on. This is amazing. It's fantastic. I loved it. Back to Wikipedia. We're coming up on the final scene.
Okay.
After Buraki is destroyed, Ethan watches Sarah dissolve into a spirit form, and the celestial dragon permits her to speak to Ethan, whom she assures that they shall see each other again and promises to love for all eternity. Then withdraws Sarah into its body and ascends into the sky through the parting clouds to the heavens. Jack Forster, who's been gone this entire movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
He suddenly appears behind Ethan, reminding him that the two of them have been given a great honor to take part in this transformation, and then he vanishes. After whispering, "Goodbye, old man," Ethan walks away into the desert.
Oh my God. But they'll meet again in their next version of life form.
I mean, I was just like, what just happened? Okay, so he lost the girl.
She's a puddle somewhere.
But she's the dragon.
Right.
So she just flies off into the sky.
So the dragon still exists.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he then walks off into the desert.
He doesn't get to be a dragon and go somewhere too?
No.
Huh.
Well, I don't know. He didn't do that here, and he didn't do it in the Wikipedia, so I'm guessing.
I guess he's not a dragon.
It's hard for me to tell for sure
dragon
what
times.
happened in this movie, Vanessa.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I will say this. I enjoyed this better than Godzilla vs. Kong. And I'll tell you why.
Oh, okay.
The people who are like, Kelly, you're worried too much about the human story. Don't you just want to see monsters fight? And my answer to that is yes. So don't bog me down with stupid human story then. If what you really want is just to show monsters fighting.
Yeah.
When you because the only time I'm going to be like, I don't buy this is when the humans are on screen.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones doing things that I know how to relate to. If there's a gigantic ape with a laser axe fighting a huge lizard on top of a skyscraper, I'm going to have to go, well, that could happen because it's right there happening.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, I can see that.
So
Bad
I would
romance.
say that a bad movie with a bunch of good monster scenes is a better monster movie than a much better looking movie that has a bunch of really so human parts.
I can respect that.
So
yeah.
Only a little bit of trivia. And here's where we go into that. Did this really cost $32 million? Because some sources say that it may have actually skyrocketed as high as $99 million.
Holy shit.
What?
I mean, it looks great.
Whoa.
I will say that. The effects look fucking great. So, and then of course, they're all American actors, all that stuff. So they're This is the first Korean production in nearly 3 decades to receive wide theatrical release in the United States.
Mm.
And then I've got a couple of reviews here. Achikong, this one is from an Amazon viewer who says, if you are under 13 or above 13 and pretty intoxicated, you'll enjoy Dragon War. 7 stars.
7 stars. Wow.
So that's why you liked it so much. Is that what you're saying?
Wait a second. I mean, I had been drinking.
How much wine was currently in your system?
That's always a
Question mark. Much like the budget. No one's really sure.
Less than 49%.
Okay.
Luke Y. Thompson in LA Weekly derided the film as one for connoisseurs of the totally preposterous crap school of fantasy cinema. You know who you are. You have all the Warlock sequels on Laserdisc and the complete Leprechaun series on DVD. And then he said, it's funnier when it tries to be serious than when it goes for the gag.
I do have all the Warlock series on Blu-ray.
You fucking nerd.
But not nerds. The Leprechaun.
I walked away from this film going, you know what? Not a bad way to spend 90 minutes. And I really appreciated that it was 90 minutes.
Yes.
Yes.
Get in and get out.
Yes, I do not need 120 minutes of monsters fighting, especially when 40 of it can be cut out with all the stupid human shit.
Yeah. Wow, what a crazy variety of content.
This was a cool subject. Good job.
Yeah.
Because I was afraid that we'd all just pick a Godzilla movie or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was nice that we all went a little deeper than that.
Yeah. Off the beaten path.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to Shin Godzilla, at least, it's not like you did the 1950s Godzilla or something.
No, it felt like a very, very different movie. Yeah. Huh.
Okay, I think that means it's my turn, right?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe.
Well, listen up, dudes and dudettes. We are going to be down at the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival this weekend.
What?
And we would normally be recording an episode this weekend. So what we have decided to do is record an episode down at the Lovecraft Film Festival. Now, it won't be like our live Crypticon show or anything like that. But since we're going to be down there and since we're going to be inundated with cosmic and weird horror, how do you guys feel about picking a cosmic or weird horror film?
Sure.
Love it.
And we'll do that just to keep the mood going.
Nice.
I'm so in. I'm going to have to immediately Google what is cosmic horror and then go from there.
Perfect.
That'll work. Yeah. Sure, why not? Discover new things.
This is the spot where I thank everybody for liking and sharing posts, for being there for us with the value for value model, for just reaching out, saying nice things. I do love watching the race to be the first to share an episode that has been happening for the last couple of weeks. Danny, you disappointed me, brother.
He said he's going to take time off work. He's going to call in sick to make sure he's the first. Just sitting there. You need to text him ahead, Eric.
Yeah, please just send him a warning.
Fired.
I'm more inclined to, let's see what different times I can put on.
You are evil.
Yeah, so it warms my heart to see people interacting with us that way. And I cannot thank you all enough for that. And I cannot thank both of you enough for driving through horrific rain to get here today.
Oh, man.
The sights we saw.
Yeah. Right.
It was like being in the middle of the Wizard of Oz tornado, and you look to your left and you're like, oh, that's a bathtub. And you look to your right, there's a woman on a broomstick.
I do like that you both reported a boat accident on the freeway as you were driving here. So
it was just like an abandoned boat on the side of the road missing a wheel and slightly dented. I was like, huh. Well, there's a boat. It's not a small boat. It's a good sized boat.
Yeah. What did I say? About a 45 minute drive. I saw 4 accidents, post accidents, and they didn't actually happen in front of me, thankfully, but there are 4 accidents in that short little drive.
Yeah. I pulled up Waze at one point and saw the just sheer madness. And then I closed it and looked back at Google because I was like, I don't want to know. It's too much information. I'm getting stressed out.
Hey, you guys, I have a limited amount of time in my weekend, and you guys are burning it up right now. So,
there's another movie I saw.
Let me tell you about how my weekend went.
Great to see everybody. And we will see you again. Same bat time, same bat channel next week. Bye.
Bye.
Our show is recorded somewhere high above Naval Station Everett at the nexus of all realities and is engineered and produced by Eric Morgret. Our theme music is Strange Aeons Part 1 by the band Nightshade and is used with permission. Find Strange Aeons Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and wherever fine podcasts are found. I talk myself out of doing fun things all the time,